Oh, welcome back, everybody. I'm glad you guys are joining me today. Of course, the witch hunt continues, and the President Donald J. Trump, faces 760 years in prison if convicted of all of these crimes in the new Georgia indictments that dropped last night. This is a huge story. It has lots of consequences. Of course, Georgia is a state where the governor is not the one who issues pardons. Pardons are issued by a state board of pardons and paroles. So it doesn't even come from the governor. And also in that same breath, that they have to wait 5 years before they can even consider the person that's seeking that pardon a pardon. So yeah, there's a lot of nefarious things happening here in the Georgia case. Of course, this is all leading up, of course, to the Jack Smith federal case that is currently being undertaken by the federal government, by the corrupt Biden regime led by Merrick Garland and others who are trying to put President Donald Trump in prison. And this is absolutely wrong, no matter where you stand, whether you're a supporter of another candidate or if you're a supporter of Trump. This is wrong. This is something that we should all be talking about right now, as far as calling it out, because that's what it is. Americans should not be standing for this. We should not be seeing this type of interference in an election, upcoming election, being done by these state DAs. I said this in the video from yesterday, that this ends only when brave AGs from Republican states start going after high-profile Democrats within their own states and doing the same thing to them. This is how this stops, because right now they're running roughshod. These local DAs that are funded by George Soros are out there targeting the political opposition, i.e. Donald Trump and anybody else along Trump's orbit. So this article from Breitbart here has 11 great takeaways, but the biggest thing, of course, is the amount of years that Donald Trump is facing in prison over these state charges in Georgia. Again, remember, the governor of Georgia cannot pardon Trump from these indictments, or if he's found guilty of any of these charges, he doesn't have that ability in the state of Georgia. That's just the way they are there. So before we dive into today's story, don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button. If you're new here, thanks for joining me. Thank you for the support. You can help support me by hitting that subscribe button, by the like button. If you want to support me further, you can hit that membership button, or even the super thanks button, all available to you. But most of all, hit that like button and that subscribe button. All right, let's kind of dive into what we have here, coming from Breitbart today. And Pollock says here's 11 key takeaways from the Georgia indictment of Donald Trump. So let's take a look at a few of these real quick and see what they say. Here's the first one. The RICO statute is a tactic to secure an easy conviction of Trump, even if it's overturned. The Georgia case involves a racketeering influence and corrupt organizations, RICO statute, of the kind used to prosecute mobsters for large criminal enterprises. A Harvard Law School professor, Alan Dershowitz, noted RICO prosecutions only survive early prosecutorial motions and led to convictions. Though they are often overturned on appeal, Democrats want a conviction before Election Day, and that's what they want. The second takeaway is the indictment was rushed. It was leaked by the Fulton County before the grand jury had even voted. Though a special grand jury with a clear anti-Trump bias had already recommended charges against Trump, the grand jury that voted to indict him on Monday only heard testimony for 1 day. Hours before the grand jury voted, however, the county court posted, then deleted, a document that resembled the final indictment, which may have violated Trump's rights and suggest a written process. And the DA was asked about this during a press conference, and she's like, I know nothing about it. Nothing about it. I have no idea how that works. Obviously, a lie, right? Next here, number 3, is the DA Fani Willis is fundraising off the prosecution and running for a re-election next year, just like the one from New York. Remember the New York AG, whose entire platform was, if you elect me as your DA, I will go after Donald J. Trump, and that's what she did, right? Here we have the same thing. Willis is reprimanded by a judge last year for hosting a fundraiser for a Democrat who is running against one of the political or potential targets of her grand jury investigation. She is also running for re-election in 2024, like the Manhattan DA Alvin Bragg, who ran explicitly on a promise to find a way to prosecute Trump. Willis' own political and fundraising interests are hard to separate from her handling of the case. And it's even it's even surprising that this case is being allowed to move on with a clear bias of the DA. Number 4, the indictment was announced shortly before midnight for no apparent reason. There was no reason for Willis to rush the indictment before midnight or to hold a late night press conference other than to ensure that the indictment would dominate news coverage the following day. The fact that the indictment was filed in the dead of night reinforces the sense that this is fundamentally a political prosecution meant to cause maximum damage to Trump as the 2024 presidential race begins. The indictment includes lawyers, aides, and even supporters. Yes, there are a list of individuals on that indictment sheet that are supporters and lawyers for President Donald J. Trump during his time as president and fighting the corrupt local governments who have been after him. Number 6, Kanye West's former publicist is also included in the indictment. Trevin Cutie, who worked for Ye, though not at the time, apparently, is accused of pressuring an election worker, Ruby Freeman, to testify about participating in supposed ballot counting irregularities, right? Number 7, the indictment claims political statements such are acts of in furtherance of the conspiracy. The indictment cites ordinary political statements as if they were criminal acts. See, the left has been trying to do this for the longest time, to criminalize speech, criminalize their political opposition. Anything that they don't like, they can criminalize, and this is the vehicle in which they are using this to do. So therefore, you could no longer challenge any election moving forward because they will come and bring charges against you. It's okay, again, if you're like Stacey Abrams and you're allowed to go ahead and do it because you belong to the system, it's all right to question it then, just like the Democrats have done since 2000 when George W. Bush was elected president. Number 8, the indictment covers conduct in other states, not just Georgia. While the indictment focuses on Georgia, it also includes other states, such as public hearings about voting irregularities in Pennsylvania. It also attempts to implicate Trump and his campaign in violations of federal law, suggesting that the local county prosecutors think she can enforce federal law that may be an attempt to steal the limelight from U.S. Special Counsel Jack Smith. It also may be, it may also be unconstitutional. If it may be unconstitutional, it probably is. And of course, number 9, Trump faces possible 76 years in a state prison on 13 counts, which would not be an easy pardon. That brings a total potential sentences across all of his indictments to 727 years in prison, or possibly the death penalty, which is available for one of the charges in the federal indictment over January 6th. Unlike the other states, Georgia does not give its governor the power to issue pardons. Number 10, the indictment does not mention Lynn Wood, a major proponent for voter fraud claims. Wood, who recently gave up his law license in Georgia, was also called to testify before the Fulton County grand jury last year. He was probably the most ferocious advocate for the idea that there had been voter fraud in Georgia, to point out to the point of encouraging Republican voters to boycott the Senate runoff elections in the state in January 2021. In protest, curiously, his name is absent from the indictment. And curiously, those two senators for the Republican Party lost in 2021, if you remember. And I remember Lynn Wood being one of the lead voices out there telling voters to stay home and not go out. Of course, he's always been a Democrat. Maybe he was a Democrat plant. And number 11, neither Stacey Abrams nor Hillary Clinton have been indicted in Georgia for the same or worse actions. Of course, we know they've ran around for years claiming that their elections were stolen from them, and there has been no repercussions for them. So, of course, those are the 11 things you need to know about the upcoming Georgia indictments that dropped last night. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Of course, you guys can follow me on all my social media, which is linked in the description down below. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Have a great day.